This week on Equestrian Nation, you'll meet a 2-year-old quarter horse gelding named Justice, a nice horse who's royally bred but got off to a bad start. 2 trainers have already given up on him. We had heard of a trainer that specializes in difficult horses to start. His name is Steve Boyles, a Hollywood stuntman and a lifetime horseman. You're about to see what happens when Steve meets Justice in a special edition of Equestrian Nation, Breaking Justice.
I'm Larry Mahan, and welcome to Equestrian Nation.
Equestrian Nation is being brought to you by the Mi'kmaq Bit Company, Platinum Performance, Kensington Protective Products, Alamo Saddlery, and Breyer Animal Creations.
Hip up a little chew,
Welcome to a special edition of Equestrian Nation. I'm here with Steve Boyles, who's going to take this little untrusting 2-year-old, and by the time he's finished, he'll be riding this guy. Good luck, buddy.
I hope so, Larry.
This 2-year-old gelding is named Justice. His bloodlines are Peppy Sand Badger and Doc Bar, and on the dam side, Plum Dry and Dry Dock. Both sides of his bloodlines are considered some of the best Western performance bloodlines available. Justice was pulled off pasture and put in a trailer where he had a bad trailering experience. This all happened way too quickly and has resulted in Justice having a very bad experience with humans. He has no trust and defends himself when he is approached. 2 trainers have given up on him after both getting hurt. Justice has never been ridden. When one of the trainers attempted to saddle him, the saddle slid under his belly as he ran around the pen. Justice is about to meet his 3rd trainer, who now really has his work cut out for him. This is Steve Boyles. He grew up in a boarding stable with over 100 horses and has been working with horses since age 5. As a young man, Steve joined the Marines and became one of the best in the world in martial arts, competing worldwide. After the Marine Corps, Steve was hired to teach hand-to-hand combat to the CIA and Secret Service. Steve then became a Hollywood stuntman. He's been in major feature films, including doubling Will Smith in Men in Black, and currently working on Fox's 24. But his love has always been for horses, and they've always drawn him back in. Steve combines his martial arts mastery with his amazing stuntman athleticism, with a lifetime of understanding horses, to comprise one of the most unique, gifted trainers a horse will ever meet.
I noticed the first thing that his head was way up in the air and his ears were going both directions and continually moving. And his eyes also were looking from side to side, and every little sound, every little movement he was definitely in tune with, which means he was on high alert, and that's just the kind of horse he's going to be, I see.
Once Justice is haltered, Steve starts by touching Justice all over to get him used to being handled and find out where he's sensitive. Justice has some areas he's sensitive to from the problems with the first trainer. Steve tries to desensitize those areas by repeatedly touching him. Once he feels the horse will stop kicking out, Steve prepares to get on Justice bareback. This horse has never felt the weight of someone on his back.
He's definitely going to be afraid at first, so I'll probably do a lot of jumping around and get him acclimated to that, and then putting a little body weight on him, then adding more and more as I progress with it. But I think he'll finally accept it, definitely. He doesn't understand, first thing, a predator jumping around him and not actually hurting him. So what my first intent was just to jump around. If you notice, I jumped kind of more in front of him, away from his body, where he could actually see the action and read what the body was doing. And I eased it slowly, closer and closer, to actually touch the horse with the body, and then allowing the body weight to go onto the horse. When I set him up for actually mounting, you see that I start off with my feet off the ground, but my body over the back. And I will actually move one leg to the front, one leg to the back, just try to acclimate that side. I switch back and forth each side, making sure that both sides will be in touch with both legs on each side. The first thing I want to find out is what the horse is afraid of. And since this horse had a history already of flipping upside down when we put the saddle on him before, I knew that he would have some phobias about that saddle. But I had to figure out whether it was the saddle, the girth, or just the blanket. After I attached that girth to the saddle and started giving him pressure underneath, I gave him immediate pressure and then immediate release so he knows that that girth is not there permanently. Well, I have to be ready for anything because I don't know what the horse is going to do. I'm assuming, hoping that I did the right preparation, the horse is not going to fight it. But if he does fight it and goes for a ride, it will be bad for me to come off, not only because of the pain, but because it's going to teach the horse that he can throw me. Before he goes into a buck, he's going to tense up first and get real stiff. If I feel that, with the control of the halter, I can ask him to soften again. And that's what I repeatedly had done when I was out there. Introducing the bit, the first thing you don't want is you don't want the horse to feel there's a threat to him. And after he figured that out, then that could give pressure to both sides of that bit. And then I wait right there for him to figure out where that pressure is coming from so he can soften to that pressure.
Steve has taken his time and mounted Justice without any problems. When we come back, you'll see what happens when Justice explodes on this special episode of Equestrian Nation, Breaking Justice. Steve starts his third day with Justice by going back over all the steps he did in the first 2 days. Steve likes to use the long lines to teach the horse to turn and move forward. He feels it's easier than doing it on his back.
At first, when I first started asking him to turn long line, he turned really abruptly and kind of ballistic movement where he just really took off and slowed down, took off and slowed down. At the end of the long line, I would ask him to stop. He didn't take a step backward, soften his nose, and he was a lot more calm when I asked him to step off. He actually understood go forward cue.
Justice learns quickly, and once Steve's back in the saddle, the horse moves right out.
I did reach my goal finally. Ultimately, I got in a trot in both directions with a pretty calm trot and feeling pretty good underneath me.
Since a bad trailer ride is what started Justice's mistrust in people, on the fourth day, it was time for Justice to have a trailer ride off to a different ranch. The trailer ride was stressful for Justice, so Steve gave him a day off and would start over the next day. Nothing different than 2 days ago. Steve did all the same things and went slow. But Justice has a different attitude. The trailer ride seemed to conjure up all of Justice's mistrust.
And he was just like before we even started him. He was shy, he was kicking, he was bucking. I put the saddle on him. He did everything that he had done before, like we had never worked with him before.
Steve goes back to the same spot by the rear cinch that seems to set Justice off. He tries to desensitize the area by constant touching.
What I did was to make sure I started from the beginning again. We did all the sacking out again, the tarp, the bag, the ropes, everything from the beginning, and just to get him back where he was when we left from the place before.
The series of events has brought to the surface the worst of Justice. Steve knows he has to confront this dangerous problem now, or it may never get better.
The biggest thing with Justice and his problems that I first got up here is that his kicking was the biggest problem. He actually kicked me right in the belt. So fortunately it didn't hurt or anything. So to get him over his kicking, I sacked him out with a bag, and he kicked that bag probably lots of times. And I actually also tied some bags to the saddle and did some things kind of like to help him out. Put some things in that area as far as where he was kicking at. He would kick the stirrup, basically. He kicked the stirrup of the saddle or the back cinch, and just because they were there. So those are the things I kind of worked on. I actually desensitized him every time I got on him, before I got on him, in those same areas. And first probably 4 or 5 times, he actually was definitely very, very sensitive there. Every time you touch him, he'd kick at you. As far as when horses have a habit to kick and bite, I think it always depends on what the answer is after that kick or that bite. So my answer to him kicking me was I would just kind of let him know with a plastic bag. He'd kick out, I would just bump him with it. And he knows that the answer to that kick would always come. So I think what creates that habit of kicking and getting away with it is the horse kicks out and the person runs away. So versus running away or even punishing the horse seriously to get him more upset, I don't even think you have to do that much. I think you just have to answer the kick with some type of answer. Like I just bumped him on the hindquarters with a big plastic bag. Just the noise itself, he knows that the kick has been answered and he won't try again, and that actually shut it down. I think when every horse has an issue that's not resolved, that issue keeps eating away at that horse, and he keeps that fear of maybe going back to that issue or having to re-deal with that issue. So I think if you let a horse have a problem like that and not actually deal with it, that you're actually going to keep that problem, and there will always be other issues coming up because of that problem. So my theory is always take care of the problem, no matter what it takes, before you try to move on, because that's going to be always in the horse's mind. And if you take care of it, the horse will have a clearer mind and a lot easier to work with.
When we come back, Steve gets back in the saddle. All the kicking and bucking lasted just that one day after the trailer ride. Steve has now regained Justice's trust.
Cantering him around, he didn't have any signs of bucking or fighting it at all. He actually seemed like he relaxed more after we started cantering. That kind of started the overall relaxing of the horse. Basically, after the first cantering, he became a lot easier to work with.
When the men take me to the devil tree, I will be free and shining like before. Papa, don't tell me what I should have done. She's the one who paid me.
If you can allow your horse, and in the arena, teach your horse to move forward. And therefore, if you run into an obstacle out on a trail somewhere and you ask him to go across, you might have to work your system a little bit, but you can actually work your horse into going across that. He'll have enough trust in you that he'll be convinced that if he does it, that he won't be hurt.
When the wind wraps me like the reaper's hand, I will swing free until they cut me down. Papa, don't tell me what I could have done. She's the one who begged me.
We get closer and closer to the water every time we walk toward the water to rest. Pretty soon we were standing in the water to rest, and then the next thing we were going across the water with no problem.
Take me home.
When I first met Justice, I remember he was really high-headed, really super alert, just really uneasy horse, and he watched our every move, ears twitching, head looking, eyes going big around saucers, and just a really alert horse. And you know he was on the watch. He was looking out for himself and his protection of his own well-being. He was definitely afraid of everything. And getting him over that part basically was just a small chore. So, my opinion on most horses that they call problem horses are problem horses, but they have problems they can get over. And there's no horse really out there, I think, that can not be ridden or trained in time, or as long as you have patience with that horse and try to understand why that horse is acting up and where he's coming from. It helps to know the past of the horse and if he's been handled a certain way, or if he's had some type of situation that might have scared him and keeping him resisting the committing to people and being ridden. But there's no horse, I think, that can't be ridden.
When the sea takes me like my mother's arms, I will breathe free as any word of God. Papa, don't tell me what you would have done. She's the one who begged me. Take me.
Steve went on to take Justice on short trailer rides every day. Justice has gained confidence.
Take me home.
And after 3 months, he has never repeated the bad behavior. Steve is truly a master in dealing with horses.
As far as where it's Justice right now, where he's going, where it could be, I think it's unlimited. I think he's very talented, well-bred, we know. So as far as what Justice's future holds, I think anything can happen. Justice is wide open. He can be trained to do anything.
If you'd like to get a 2-hour DVD of Breaking Justice, go to equestriannation.tv. For more information on Steve Boyles, go to steveboyles.com.
I long to saddle up and ride down early morning trails.
Equestrian Nation is made possible by
The Mi'kmaq Bit Company. For more information on different styles or to see how they work, go to mi'kmaq.com.
Kensington Protective Products protect your horse from insect bites and more with Kensington on the web at kensingtonproducts.com. And by Breyer Animal Creations. Choose a Breyer and ride away on your dreams.
Thanks for watching Equestrian Nation on RFD TV. We'll see you next time.
If you'd like more information about any episode of Equestrian Nation, go to equestriannation.tv.
That I rode with him down those early morning trails.